Hi everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's video I thought I would talk about my breastfeeding journey. So I've had loads of people messaging me asking me to share kind of, I guess, from the start to where we are now. So for those of you who follow me will know that I had an emergency C-section after a very grueling labour. And Theo actually ended up in NICU for 4 days. So after he was born, he got whisked away to NICU. I didn't get to hold him. And where I'd done like hypnobirthing and everything I'd read about, it's all about that initial skin to skin and how your baby would crawl up and find your nipple, and like that's where your breastfeeding journey begins kind of thing. I know for some people that doesn't happen, whether their baby's whisked off or not. But in my head I was like I've lost out on skin to skin, now my baby's probably not going to be able to breastfeed, and you know, you're worrying about your baby as it is, and it's just emotionally there's just so much going on. And I'd always planned to breastfeed, but I was also quite like open to the idea of if it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for me, and we'll use formula, because my personal opinion is fed is best. I don't believe in one over the other at all. But where I felt personally like my body let me down during my birth, it suddenly became more important to me to breastfeed. I just felt like it was my body's way of still kind of proving that it can do something well for my baby. It sounds a little bit ridiculous now I'm saying it, and I'm obviously in a much better place mentally, but at the time, like, it was like, I need to breastfeed my baby. Anyway, so when Theo was in NICU, they're quite regimented there. I mean, they have to be. But they fed him every 3 hours. And via a tube. And that was formula. And then I really wanted to breastfeed. So the midwives were really good, and they helped me get colostrum as soon as we could. Like, literally, I was getting excited about millilitres of it. And it was just terrific. I was literally like doing this, trying to get some out. I would like take him like 1 milliliter and just be like, this isn't gonna fill him up. And I remember one night I was crying to 2 midwives, like literally crying. I was like, I need to produce milk. I need to feed my baby. I want him to have my milk. And then I had a midwife literally on each boob milking me. I think it's the most undignified, no, it's not the most undignified, it's one of the most undignified moments of my life. They were just milking me whilst I was crying. Anyway, I was literally, it was relentless. I was literally pumping every 3 hours. I was trying to simulate when they were feeding him up in NICU, so I felt like I was running up and down to, I wasn't running, I was wheeled in a wheelchair. I was going up and down to NICU. In between I was expressing, or they had a little expressing room on NICU, so I had a pump there and I had a pump set up on my ward. It was quite good. And every time I was in NICU I would try it. It was hard because I felt like where there were certain times he had to be fed, I put so much pressure on myself to get him to latch. And then, like, say I couldn't get him to latch within 5 minutes, they were like, we really need to feed him. So, and that was that. And I just felt like I couldn't do it. Anyway, the night that he finally got moved to my ward, I was like, I'm going to use this before I go home. And this would be my biggest advice to anyone, is just don't go home from the hospital until like a midwife's helped you enough that you feel more confident with the latch. But I literally must have pressed my bell 6-7 times in the night, just to try and help get them to latch. And eventually, it was just one particular midwife, she was just very gentle, and she just really helped. Anyway, it was bloody painful. I don't know who made up that it's the most natural thing in the world, because it doesn't feel like it. It's like impossible to get them to latch on to start with. And when they do latch on, it's like Dracula is sucking the blood out of you, except it's your nipple. And it feels raw and painful and sore, and it makes, I don't know if this is like anyone else gets this, but it like makes your nunny wobble, like it makes you a bit like, oh. And I had a breastfeeding pillow. I would really recommend that, just because like holding your baby, and like chairs are weird angles, so the one that goes around here, you can literally lay your baby there Found those quite helpful. For me, the game changer was breastfeeding on my side laying down, because those newborn days are so exhausting. And again, I didn't leave the hospital until we managed that. It was actually my sister sent me a picture, a graphic picture, of her doing it to Allegra, and so then I tried to copy it, and I got Adam to literally like scoop Theo onto my boob, like swoop him on, and he managed to latch, and that was a bit of a game changer for us. So yeah, going home from hospital, I was really worried. I thought, like, I'm going to get home, I'm not going to be able to get him to latch, and then I'm going to go to bottles and my body's failed me again. So anyway, we get home, and I mean, that's the most emotional day of my entire life anyway, but I then was like really determined that when I got home I wanted to get him feeding straight away, because I thought that's the thing I had the most anxiety about, so I just wanted to get it done. So I was most confident with laying on my side feeding him, so I went straight up to bed, laid there, he latched on straight away, and I was just like, what? It's amazing. I mean, it wasn't like comfortable in terms of like, it still hurt, but he latched on, and so I was like, okay, it's great. So then the next feed came, and I was downstairs. I was like, I should try and do like a normal one. I had like cushions. He latched on straight away, and you know what I think it is? I think in a hospital it's such a stressed environment, because when you've just had a baby, someone hands you the baby, you're like, I don't know what to do, never mind how to keep it alive, feed it, change its nappy, get it to sleep, all those kind of things. And I think at home you instantly feel more relaxed, and I obviously did. And I think if you're stressing out about it, the baby senses that as well, so then they're like fussy with the latch and stuff. And obviously I know there are reasons why your baby might not latch, and the most common one is tongue tie, and I know a few people have actually had that. And if it's recognised in the early days, you can get it cut, and that should help. But I do believe some places have like a ridiculous waiting time just for a little snip, which is a bit annoying, I guess. So anyway, where are we? We are now 7.5 months into our breastfeeding journey. Over the course of those months, I did my first public feed. And to start with, I remember literally like getting Adam to hold one end of this giant muslin and the other one here, and it was fidgety and it was uncomfortable, and I couldn't get him on, and I was like stressing out. He was stressing out. Adam was stressing out. It wasn't fun. It wasn't comfortable. Yeah, that really got me flustered. And then kind of as time has gone on, I've just got more relaxed with it. I don't bother covering up any. I mean, by no means do I sit there with my tit hanging out, just being like, hell yeah. But just like my t-shirts and stuff, I'll lift them up and just put them on. You might be able to see a little bit of boob, but it's not like I'm sat there like, come on, look at my boob. So it doesn't matter. I've just got a lot more comfortable with it. Also, forgot to say, when your milk comes in, holy mother of God, my boobs were like Pamela Anderson. They were so sore, so painful. They were massive. I literally had nothing to contain them. I'd already bought and invested in bras, so now I needed to go out and get more. Cheers, hun. Anyway, like those first few weeks, actually the first couple of months, my boobs were massive because I was feeding so often, and it's like a feeding on demand that really takes it out of you. It's literally like, I guess when you're bottle feeding, you kind of have more of a schedule, and I think when you I mean, I don't know if maybe I just did it wrong, but I was literally just feeding on demand, and some days those cluster feeds, oh my God, at night, I literally felt like he was feeding for hours, literally hours, and yeah, it's all a bit of a blur now. But any breastfeeding mama who is going through that and is doing like those sleepless nights where your baby is constantly feeding, I promise you it gets better, and it is worth it. Like, I love feeding him because I feel like it's our special time. Like, no one else can do that. It's just me. And yeah, I will miss it, but I do also feel like I'm at a point now where I am ready to introduce a bottle. Did give him a bottle from, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks. It was a bottle of express milk at night in the Medela Karma bottles. He took it really well, no problem. It was to give me a break and meant that Adam could feed him. But yeah, then there was like a period, it must have only been like 2 or 3 weeks, where I was fed up of expressing. He just stopped taking a bottle, which was really annoying. Adam and I went out for our anniversary and we left him at my mum's and we were out for 8 hours and he refused a bottle for the entire 8 hours, which was no fun for them probably. My boobs were literally about to explode, and yeah, ever since then he's refused a bottle. That's another YouTube video. We are now 7 months down the line. I wanted to stop our breastfeeding journey at 6 months, so at 5 months I kept trying to introduce the bottle, which has not gone well. So we are 7 months and I am still breastfeeding. I'm now feeding him 4 times a day, so when he wakes up, then at around 11 o'clock, then at around 3 o'clock, and then before bed. My boobs have started to get a little bit smaller, thank the Lord. I no longer express. What I do is in the morning I put on a milk collector, and that's the milk I get for the day to try him with the bottle. I just couldn't do it. I don't know if it's because I had one that was always attached to the wall, and I do think that's where the LV is probably amazing, where you could just chuck it on, but I just found I couldn't get anything done. You were just stuck there holding these things like You feel like a cow. I don't want to feel like a cow. So yeah, and I think you reach this point where, as much as I want to stop it, I also know I'm going to miss it. But I'm also really proud that we've got this far in our journey. Like, I do definitely think that once you make it past the first bit, if you're lucky enough to make it past that first bit, it does get easier, and it is just habit for both of you. Like, you just both get used to it. A few things I will say is make sure you've got some good nursing bras. You are living in these things every single day. One thing I regret not doing is buying like prettier nursing bras. Mine are literally like the ugliest things, and they make me feel a bit but yeah. Nursing clothes, don't just be restricted by companies that label things as nursing clothes. Like, I find t-shirts are great. In the earlier days when my boobs were massive, I would wear like a strappy vest top underneath, have a t-shirt on top, so I could pull the vest top down and lift this up and nothing would be on show. Now it genuinely doesn't faze me. I think more at the time it wasn't my boob I was worried about getting out, it was my weird like postnatal stomach. But now I just lift my tops up or put him under there or whatever it is. Zips are great, buttons are great, V-necks are great. Just don't be afraid to do it. And yeah, if you've got any questions about my breastfeeding journey, please just ping me an inbox and I will try and get back to you. But please know you're also not alone. Like, it is hard, it is really hard, and I admire anyone who does it. I admire anyone who even tries to do it. It's one of the hardest things I've done, so I don't know how we can claim it's supernatural. So if you like the video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.